TravonSmith.net, November the 6th. The election was yesterday. So I want to talk on it, touch on it a little bit, and just let some people know it might be a sensitive subject to some, but I'm asking you to have an open mind and think about some of the things that I might bring up. So Donald Trump won, which was not shocking to all of us, even though we know Kamala Harris is the better person, right? We do know she's the better person. So listen to the array and of events that I'm about to walk us through. So first, the Democratic Party told us Joe Biden was healthy, he was good to go, and then we started kind of noticing stuff from the debate and things like that, and and then they started catching on because they couldn't fool us anymore, right? Even though we had seen that he wasn't doing good, everybody's like, no, he's good. He's in good health. He's in good health. So then we started noticing. So then they started amending it, right? So then we move on. There's a discussion where they do soft presentations. They softly bring up Kamala Harris, right? They test the market as far as people saying yes, 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 or no, no, no. So they do this soft presentation on TV and just rumors or leaks, and that's how they get us. And then Kamala Harris did fairly well with that, right? So everybody's like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it. So what I'm about to say is, by no means I think it was Kamala Harris's fault. I think she's a great person. I think she's a great future candidate, and I think if she runs again, she will win. Then her whole, her whole sit down, the round table, the corporate meeting says, what are we going to get them with? What are we going to get? We're going to win with women, and we're going to win with reproductive rights, which is great, she's absolutely right, because women do have the right to choose. The problem is most women do what their husbands want, or they kind of go along with their husbands, if I may say. There's a lot of women that do think independently and do things independently, but a lot of women, the middle class and family oriented women, them and their husbands are on a togetherness. So they kind of think like, they think alike. So that's their main target audience as of right now: women and women with reproductive rights, right? Which mainly is saying abortion. And then you have that group, and then you have another group that's not even thinking about abortions because they're too old. And then you have another religious group that doesn't want to think about abortions, even though we all agree it is a woman's right, right? So we have that's their target audience, right? So you can say, is it a good idea? Is it not? The election's over. Apparently it wasn't. She starts doing these barbershop podcasts and these very urban podcasts like Charlemagne the God and Shannon Sharp podcast, which everybody calls Shay Shay because he did the Cat Williams, and he does all these controversial podcasts. No president does those kind of podcasts. Why even address those podcasts? Because you're overreaching. You're trying to reach a black community. If the black community and the minority community, if they're gonna vote for you, they're just gonna vote for you out of genuineness. We don't need people overreaching for us, right? That's what I've been told. That's the statistics that's now out. That's what it says, because they said Trump's voting from Philadelphia and urban cities went from 10% to 25%, because a lot of black males felt like they were offended. A lot of Hispanic males felt like they were offended. And the Hispanic vote was a big vote too, which they went for Trump, in which they said Trump. Now we know the results. Trump had more black and Hispanic voters than they've had in a while for any Republican, going back to maybe the Bushes, no, Ronald Reagan, I believe. You could go ahead and research the information. And then on top of the podcast and the interview she's doing, which they do the View and all that stuff, but there's more central, more neutral podcast she should have did. And then they started asking questions about this and that, and how does she vote? And she said, I'll answer that after the election. That's not what people want to hear. We want to hear what you think now, how you process things now. We want to see your genuineness. And then it started leaking out. She was Indian and just raised by a minority. She wasn't really, raised by a black family. And you should have just said all this from the beginning. And once again, I'm going back and saying, I don't think it's Kamala Harris's fault. I think it's the Democratic Party. how they set things up, how they take the minority vote for granted. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. So during the whole Democratic process, the last three and a half years, and once again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to give somewhat facts. They target homosexuals. They target transgenders. They target illegal aliens or illegal immigrants, as I should say, to get their vote, right? And then when those votes aren't enough, they want to come back to the minority communities and say, oh, now we need you. And they over improvise. That's why at Kamala Harris, who's our first person that came out? Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion is your first artist to bring out while you're doing speeches. Megan Thee Stallion don't even sell that many records. She's not even something we look up to or want our kids looking up to. And then she brings out the girl Gorilla or whatever. We don't look up to Gorilla. We don't look up to half these people that you're bringing out. Then you bring out Cardi B. We don't know if Cardi B is black, Mexican, Puerto Rican. We don't even know what she is. She talks ignorant. You know what I'm saying? She has a family issue that she puts out in her business on social media. These are the people that you're bringing out. And some of these people are strippers. This is what you want us to do, represent us as a people. This is how you want our daughters to watch this. This is how you view us as a culture. That's not how it goes. And once again, I don't blame her. It's the Democratic Party should have said, no, we're not bringing these people out. This is how it's going to get done. We'll color code it a little bit with some of your ideas, but we're going to stay a straight line. This is our target audience. We're going. And then Obama came out and he said some words that kind of offended black males because he said, like, we feel like we don't want to vote for a black woman. So Obama offended a part of the nation that he didn't want to offend. So, as men, we take things aggressively. Like if you say something about us, we do the opposite. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's all the target of the Democratic Party, how they think that we're just automatically supposed to give their black vote. We're automatically supposed to give the Hispanic vote. We're automatically just supposed to run to them just because they're the Democratic Party. But what they need to do is put resources in these communities that's underprivileged. Take care of these kids who have a better education. Make sure their computers are up to date. Make sure their books are up to date. There's books in middle schools and elementary still talking about Christopher Columbus. No, there's more updated history books. Make sure during Black History Month we're teaching these kids about Black History Month. Make sure Cinco de Mayo we're teaching the truth. We're talking about Hispanic Heritage Month. Make sure these kids are being taken care of. And most importantly, make sure these kids are getting taken care of their lunches and stop feeding them halfway jail food and stop using all these chemicals in all our food, which are altering our teenage or our little girls' bodies and altering our brains and messing with us. And we have more more cancer cells in our body than ever before. More people have more higher blood pressure. More people have more diabetes because they're altering all our foods with salt and water, and our kids are eating Takis like it's vitamins. So there's an array of things that can be done by the Democratic Party to where we see they care about us and they really want to help us. So with that being said, is the higher percentage more than, like I said, during the Reagan party or the Bush, the minorities voted for Trump. And it's not they voted for Trump because they don't think he's a bad person or they think he's a good person. They voted for him because there's a lot of families in dire need of change. There's a lot of families in dire need of change. And the only thing you can do by change is changing the scenario. So they feel like Kamala Harris was not going to offer anything different than Joe Biden did. So they jumped to Trump. And if you don't believe me, the Senate, when the Senate and the president change, and maybe the House, as of yet, the House hasn't been announced, but the president is Republican, the Senate is Republican, and possibly the House is all Republican. That means the world is in a disarray and they want change. So like I said, I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to give you a perspective. I'm around talking to a lot of brothers, a lot of Hispanics, and this is the view out there. This is kind of what I know as far as the information I relayed. Travon from TravonSmith.net. Have a good one.